Okay, so this is the second video I've got to record today, and it's about convention recap and just my chronicled experience with the 2024 Idaho Republican Convention. So I don't actually have to do a whole lot of other things. I would have done this with my phone, but weird stuff happened. Anyway, so there was sort of a pre-road trip day. It's the first day, the second day, and the third day, and then the journey home, as it were. So I decided, and this was the right move, of course, but kind of puts another decision into question later on. I'd made a decision early on when I was planning the convention road trip, is that we would be going up to Coeur d'Alene the Wednesday, just spend a whole day doing that, so that way we're not really pressed for time getting to Coeur d'Alene. And so there was initially going to be a little bit of drama about traffic backing up on Rainbow Bridge. Turns out there wasn't. We wanted to do elk tacos in Riggins on the way up. Totally get to do that because we missed the sign and didn't want to go back to find it again. We stopped by the Jackass Flat area because of course we did. We found it on the first way, on the road trip last year up to Coeur d'Alene, so of course we had to go by again. Had an okay time, just getting through everything. We instead had to do lunch in Grangeville, but that wasn't necessarily a problem. I got myself some pretty good nachos there. Found a yogurt dispensing machine in the wild that was running a really old version of Ubuntu Linux, so that was funny to see out in the wild. Don't remember a whole lot actually going on in Lewiston, except for resting for a little bit and going to the little sinker station there. Wanted to go down to the dock and have a little quiet time down there, but somebody was coming off of the river from that dock, and so I just didn't want to bother waiting or anything. We made our way all the way up to Coeur d'Alene in good time, got checked into the hotel and everything, and really rested for a while, but we fooled around for a little bit, and in the evening we found out, oh yeah, it's actually kind of a crappy parking situation in Coeur d'Alene in downtown. Really wish I had asked more questions about that. But yeah, found out about the parking mess, but we got everything sorted out and rested. Then for the first actual day of the convention, got to the hotel on the lake and yucked it up with people. Well, I knew there for a bit. Got credentialed in the Kellen Moore jersey out at at registration there at Willows at about 9 a.m. or something. Tom had some resolutions business to go attend to, so I got to go see the executive committee again. I was sitting in on those. I got there pretty early for it. I trolled the hell out of Trent Clark when I was there. This is the staying silent part that I was posting about on social media at the time. It was right before then. I was informed of the Region 10 stuff going on, and I don't think I would have completely understood everything going on in the executive committee had I not been filled in. It was right after the executive committee meeting. I found out that there were credential challenges to several of the delegations. The Ada County delegation being one of them, so somebody's definitely trying to take people out. There are some interesting details I might talk about later about what I would find out later about those. And I spent a lot of time in vain trying to get the details, before the credentials committee. Nobody would actually tell me. Mary Souza's table at the end of that hotel hallway, where all the different rooms, committee rooms and whatnot, were being. They were being weird, and they didn't know that they were being somewhat rude about it. They were just standing there and stuff. That this kind of becomes important later about the whole cluelessness of it. So Tom got done with the resolutions business for at least for the day, and I was just tooling around. So we did lunch at Hudson's, just right across the way from the hotel stuff. It was right around this time I noticed the reporters were getting a lot more annoying. I figured there was some drama with that, and turns out later there kind of was, but I wasn't in the middle of that, and so I'm not gonna elaborate. But there's always something. Anyway, it was somewhere around that time I got in, after lunch, I got into the credentials committee meeting. Those things are always packed and always overheating no matter what they do about the AC. This is the same credentials committee meeting that I partially recorded and uploaded earlier. It might be fairly evident as to why I uploaded that. I initially didn't want to, because I was just recording that stuff to preserve the record rather than actually have it be in a presentable form for upload. But whatever. I was not doing well near the end of that recording, and I don't know if it's obvious or not, but there's a little part near the end of the recording where where I'm texting Tom on my iPad, and a few minutes later he comes in behind me and gives me the water, and then immediately withdraws, and and then I get the drink of water. I don't know if that part is obvious on the recording or not, but yeah, I think I would have died without that water. Let's see. Got to see somewhere around here. I got to see the real Region 10 reorg meeting, and with all of that, plus my conversation with Mark Fuller right after this, also with the knowledge I had before as to why any of this was happening. This ended up being the impetus for my recent Don Hatch rule video, and one involving the Don Hatch rule and my guilt, as it were. Go watch that video. It's a few videos before this one. That'll explain the situation a little bit better, I think. I filmed it in my Motel 6 room there. It was around this time that I found out that Mary Souza's table wasn't even paid for, because all the different tables and whatnot that aren't directly from the party, they're from some other organization or what have you, or some candidate, and those organizations or those candidates pay for those tables. Those vendors, they do that. Mary would have known this, but apparently her table wasn't paid for. She deliberately didn't pay for her table, and then just sort of try to do an end run around by talking to the hotel staff directly about that. It wouldn't be until way later that I found out the whole story behind that, and it made Mary Souza sound even more pathetic when I heard all of the whole thing. There was a weird welcome reception thing that Tom didn't want to go to, but I did. It had light food, and I briefly yucked it up with, a few friendlies in there. It was pretty nice. We both went back to the Motel 6 room after that, and we were way too tired. We put off going over to Post Falls and getting a Slurpee from the 7-Eleven. I might remember to say why that's important later, but we were walking around much later into the evening. After that, we went over to the McDonald's from the Motel 6 and the gas station over there. I forget why we were going to the gas station though. We weren't driving, but anyway. There were a lot of, but walking back and forth there that night in Coeur d'Alene, there were a lot of cops. And not only that, but a lot of people getting pulled over, and it's, and I'm not used to seeing what I saw, but usually when I see somebody pulled over on the road here in Boise, there's like two different cop cars, you know, or maybe you might only see one, and then second one just pulling up or something like that. No, there were at least 4 or 5 apiece to every time I saw some people pulled over. They were really swarming the area for some reason. I think it got like half of the reason why, like there was some sort of car thing going on, but they didn't explain all of it. There was while this is all going on, there was a lot of over 2 miles away over the lake. There was a bunch of really loud fireworks, so that was pretty cool. Around this time, I figured out that my Kellen Moore jersey that I got credentialed in back at registration was in the red bag that I had left in one of the committee rooms, and couldn't really do much about it. You know, that night I filmed I recorded the Don Hatch Rule video, uploaded it and stuff. It turned out, second day, it turned out my Kellen Moore jersey was being kept safe by the registration staff, which was pretty cool of them to do. I had a presentation to do, well, 2 presentations to do at the Rules Committee. One of those measures failed, the other one passed. And I got some rather onerous rules proposals taken down by coordinating with committee members, some friendlies in the room, including the bad proposal that wanted to cut the delegate representation from counties in half. I mean, I've already recorded what my opinion was, when I covered that packet, but it was a pretty bad proposal, and we got it defeated. All of the not long after that, it was all of the subcommittee business wrapped up. Credentials was taken care of, resolutions was finally taken care of, rules was, all that stuff. So, and then lunch was really good that day. Lunch was when everything was shifting over from the Coeur d'Alene Hotel to North Idaho College, just a little bit of walk away. It wasn't very far. And there's a little bit that might be important later as to why. But anyway, so everyone gathered for after the lunch. Everyone gathered for the first general session of the convention. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time reading my own typing down here. We did the first general session, and almost immediately both Tyler Hurst and Trent Clark were trying to disrupt the convention and the credentials committee report, because of course, and I'm not going to go into all the different reasons why they were both wrong, but Tyler Hurst tried saying some stuff, didn't get anywhere with it, because of course he was not only wrong, but an idiot and annoying. He's also he's also definitely in the cleared minority, one of those Gem State conservatives, they, them, people. So, Trent Clark was being really dilatory, like really, really dilatory with the credentials committee at about that point. And I had just got sat down, I just got seated as an alternate, because, I was an alternate this time, but some alternates get seated. So, I just got sat down. I was like right behind former coworker Mike Luna, and right next, and a whole slew of the establishment people, and then right in front of them was, I think, Colette Cassell. But anyway, so I just got sat down. So I saw what was happening with Trenton. He was being blatantly dilatory. He was trying to take down the credentials report, and even trying to put into question everyone's selection process and everything. So I just got up, and I had already put in over my dress shirt. I think it was just over my dress shirt and not the jacket, supporting Dorothy Moon red T-shirt thing. So I just walked over because the mic was still being taken up by Trent Clark. I just walked past him to another mic and waited for the right time. I first tried to break in with just a first, brief, Mr. Chairman, and didn't recognize me at that point because he was still dealing with the man-child called Trent Clark at the time. I'm going to see if I'm still recording, because I'm just still, okay, yes, I am still recording. So, the who was at the helm at the time, but, the Credentials Committee Chair, one Brian Smith, he of course, dealing with a man-child, Trent Clark, so I tried to get recognized, and wait a little bit, and then wait for a little bit of a lull in the talking to try to get recognized again. And so this is where a lot of the this is where the previous video starts, where a dilatory adventure. It's a few videos before this one. Go look at that one. This is where I start, where I say Mr. Chairman, and I finally get recognized. And so I know that I need to make a point really, really quickly. I need to make it a sort of a rhetoric question, So I asked, oh, Mr. Chairman, parliamentary inquiry because Trent Clark was making a bunch of dilatory parliamentary inquiries and whatnot. So I just asked the question because everyone's already really pissed at Trent Clark. Most of the convention, even some of his own people, are kind of getting mad at him. I just asked, Mr. Chairman, is it possible for a parliamentary inquiry to be dilatory? And then, you can see in the video, and I could see from where I was, Dorothy Moon is just cringing because she's educator. She's dealt with jerks like me, and so little jerks like me, in the classroom and whatnot. So she knows that I'm taking the piss. She knows I'm already taking the piss. Steve Bender is also up there, and he immediately knows what I'm getting at. And then Brian Smith, who was at the helm at the time, he's just looking confused, like, what? Why are you asking that? He briefly glances over to the parliamentarian, and then back is like, yeah, the answer is yes, yeah. And so I just say, thank you, I withdraw. And by the time that I'm strutting back to where I was seated, everybody's clapping and cheering me on because they most people got what I picked up what I was putting down there. We were making a point about Trent Clark being he's obviously just wasting time. He's obviously being dilatory. Also, fun fact is that if you look at the Google Trends data for about that time, the Google searches for the word dilatory spiked. I write it about then. But I even gave somebody a high five on the way back to my seat, as the video shows. And yeah, it wasn't long before Trent Clark was just dispatched with, and we got the Credentials Committee report done, and nobody got unduly excluded. Everybody who was excluded, they were for it was for a reason. The modifications to the roll call were completely above board at that point, and the whole convention knew it too, and I suspect even Trent knew. After that, let's see, where am I in this? Because I kind of lost my place. This is where I explain the deal. Oh yeah, and so I have a little note here. I explain the Sete Mares thing. The Sete Mares is Portuguese for 7 seas, and on the way back, which I'll explain a little bit more later, but somewhere, I think right before getting through Horseshoe Bend on the way back, the internet was working on Tom's phone again, and so he's just playing Spotify, and sometimes he has stuff in Brazilian Portuguese, playing on there. And I remember really, really liking this song and having sort of a vision of the person who might be singing that kind of song with sunglasses on and just sort of singing it forcefully at me. So I because the internet's working, what's that app called? where you're trying to identify a song, and so you press the button on the app. It's not Spotify. It's anyway. So I get the app to identify the song, and so I just screenshot it because I'm already a little wiggy now. So I just go get the song later, and then so later that Sunday while looking over the dilatory video again, I was thinking, what it would be funny if I just started looped in that the main part of that song while uh, looping myself back and forth, strutting back and forth. And so that's what I did. And so I had to go look up that song, and so I finally had to dig out that screenshot I made in my phone. And turns out the person who was singing in that Sechimari's song looked exactly how I expected him to, and looked him up on YouTube for a little bit. And that dude has mad cowboy skills. Not only does he have good voice and good beat, but the dude could really do Brazilian cowbell stuff pretty well. So eat your heart out. you know, anyway. So yeah, that's why I call that whole strutting thing now my Sechimari's dance, because it's Brazilian Portuguese for seven C's because of the song. Anyway, uh, after the whole dilatory adventure thing, we got a bit of stuff done with the general session before we were done for the day. Not as much as we would have liked, but of course, it is what it is. We at least were getting some stuff done. It was somewhere around here, and Tom and I finally got, after we were done for the second day, we finally got over to Post Falls for the 7-Eleven to get Slurpees. And I think I should explain. Tom and I, of course, live in Boise, Idaho, which means that it is at least a 7-hour drive in any direction, whether it be Portland or Coeur d'Alene, or I think it's also about that much time, driving into Utah or to Wyoming or anything, where before we get to a 7-Eleven. And Tom and I, from our childhood, we really loved Slurpees. It was kind of not an everyday thing that when we were kids that we get Slurpees. So both of us were kind of sad when 7-Elevens pretty much left the state, except for Post Falls, which is right next to Coeur d'Alene, of course. So we go over to Post Falls, just a short drive, to get Slurpees. And we even posted a bunch about it on social media at the time. So, and right around this time where some friendlies were texting back and forth, found out there was a small get-together for delegates at the convention at some pizza place. So that was nice, meeting up and yucking it up more with fellow conservative delegates. That was pretty nice. We tried to rest better that night. The end of the second day didn't really succeed. This is the night where we got a really good education of what kinds of people frequent these motels. No, I'm not elaborating on what I mean there, but neither of us got a whole lot of sleep that night anyway, and so on into the third day, that was the morning where we needed to check out of the Motel 6, and anyway, and getting back to North Idaho College where the general session stuff was continuing. Brian Allman had come up with a randomized bingo card for what Mary Souza and her surrogates would say. Wish I'd saved one, but I gave them all out to friendlies out on the convention floor for the general session. I think it was Glenn Baldwin from Nez Perce County that actually got a bingo from that. That was funny because like extremists and things that stereotypical things Mary Souza or people near her would say. Yeah, mark them off on the bingo card, and Glenn got one. Glenn got a bingo. I saved a screenshot of one. I think I might be able. You know what? I think I actually might be able to show you one. Actually, now that I think about it, I have it here on my iPad still, probably. Let's see. Yes. I don't know how well this is showing up on, but yeah, this is a screenshot of a picture of one of the bingo cards from this uncanceled and unfiltered and Mary Susan bingo, and it would say stuff like fentanyl, witch hunt, IFF, dark money, unity, Reagan moon, Trump, big tent, 80% racism tribunals. You know, if you're in Idaho politics, especially inside the Republican Party, you know what those all those different things are in reference to. So yeah, Brian Ullman did a good job with those, and they were a hit. I couldn't keep any of them because people wanted, and so yeah, people played along, and yeah. So anyway, platform committee was first, I think. Bjorn Handing was at the helm for that. There was an early voice vote that hold on a sec. Is this still working? Yeah, okay, fine. 1 sec. Just realized something had happened with my mic, but things I guess were recorded okay. So I'm just gonna keep going. I don't know how much of that was messed up, but whatever. Okay, so anyway, platform committee was first, I think. Bjorn Handing, good friend, you know, one of the locals from Coeur d'Alene up there. He was at the helm for that. There was an early voice vote that I felt it was necessary to call division on him anyways. And I remember looking at him, he was really quite confused, and some people were looking back at him and like, why the heck did you just call for a division? You just yelled that. But because and I was doing it because most of the former establishment delegates were right behind me, Bonneville County, in fact. They were clearly in the minority, but louder. And so I used my right as a seated alternate to call for division, so that the clear minority could be laid bare for everyone to see. I mean, Bjorn was coming up with the right decision on that anyway, because most people had said yay, and some people behind me had said nay. They were louder, but Bjorn was handling it was handling it correctly anyway, according to the will of the voters. But I felt it necessary to do that anyway, just so that everybody in the room could see that it's just some loud minority instead of a majority trying, voting on certain sides of issues, So, and people would later come up to me and say, yeah, okay, yeah, I see why you did that. I was kind of mad at you at first for yelling like that, but yeah, I see where, I see why you did that, so, I was justified in that in the end, I believe. The Rules Committee report was good. Nearly everything that we wanted made it through. Nearly everything, but can't get everything. As the original author of the dues accountability reciprocity rule, I got to debate in favor because Trent Clark was again being dilatory and trying to argue against. I got up to debate in favor of that, and so there's a nice good picture of me. I think of Brian Ullman took it behind me of me putting my hand up on the stage because I'm below the stage with the mic, and so anyway, he got a good photo of me with that, and I have the orange jacket on at the time. That passed overwhelmingly. You can't really get away with not paying your dues without a good reason anymore, so that's good. We got the rest of the subcommittee business done except for resolutions, so we just broke for lunch anyway. Got lunch was a taco bar thing, which was good. I remember talking to a bunch of newer people about what to expect in the remaining general session, because resolutions is traditionally a longer thing, but we'll get there. But about what to expect, and it was through these conversations that with different people during the lunch, I found out that people who were in the gallery and not entitled to vote were voting from there anyway, which is good. Now there were some delegations that were actually seated, up above a certain, in the gallery in that room. But those were all legislative district delegations. They're all like 3 people apiece and such, including District 17's, my district. But yeah, those people were of course entitled to vote. But people who were just guests, and rumor has it, even one of the media who were in the room were saying aye and nay at purporting to vote when they weren't delegates. They shouldn't have been voting. So yeah, I started hearing about that stuff. I didn't know it was happening because I was way down below, so I wouldn't have seen or really even known. I didn't really hear. So found out that was happening, and so I was trying to talk up everybody in leadership that I could about that. I was also, through these conversations, I was also telling that resolutions was going to be taking a lot of time because it traditionally does in conventions. The resolutions report, because people love to argue about that stuff. We got back, into order after lunch, and we sailed through resolutions. I'm still unconvinced as to how we even did that. Like, I'm still shocked that we just sailed through resolutions. We took maybe 20 minutes most at that. Christy Zito was at the helm for that, and oh geez, I lost my place. And she was not entertaining nonsense like at all. And I think that's probably a good part of the explanation as to how we got through it so quickly. So after all of that, the only things that were left were officer nominations and elections. I even got a good laugh when I got up when in the orange jacket again, when Dorothy Moon had made a remark in her nominating speech about the conservatives being in a cult. So I went like that. I got up and I went like this. I don't know if this is showing up on the video or not, but I was, in the orange jacket, and I got her to briefly pause and laugh, and people found it funny, so that was a good that was a good moment. People, people were going up to me not only for the dilatory remark from the day before, but also for getting up and doing that, because I think I was also making a point right then though that you need to mock really, really ridiculous things, such as the notion that the conservatives following Dorothy Moon are somehow in a cult. I needed to mock that. I needed to mock that in that moment, and so I just did the only thing I knew how to do, and people ended up getting the point. It was awesome. I think that even ended up helping a little bit. So, anyway, there were because of the rule changes that we had just made, there was 2 rounds of voting, and no, I don't mean successive votes. I mean there was 1 round with the chair and the first vice chair, nominations and voting. Then another round with second vice chair and all the other officers. That's what we mean by rounds of voting, not the rigged choice of voting kinds of rounds, but the actual. Anyway, so the actual voting is what took up most of the time, and I think I made a remark about people voting for Al Gore on the way out of the second round of voting. Yeah, I think some old lady really scowled at me over that. But anyway, I was talking with people in the hallway, and after that, and that's where most of the socializing happens in situations like that, and that's what ended up happening that way. Most of the socializing people did was in the hallways after that, after people had voted, but people hadn't gone back into the auditorium for continuing the session, because people, every single seated delegate needs to vote, and so they have to go through checking, in all of that, and they have to go to the actual voting little booths and write down, because we're Republicans, we have the actual election integrity. So we're doing all that. That all haven't had to happen one at a time, so it took a little bit. And so everybody who had already voted were just out in the halls and stuff, and had a lot of fantastic conversations with people around that time. That is that's always going to be the part where one has a cherished memory or two, is talking with just the fellow Republicans from all over. I got real bad heartburn right now. But anyway, at the end of the day, there was a conservative clean sweep. Every single officer candidate for the conservative side got elected. This will have positive and consequences for the next 2 years. And Tom and I even stayed around until every last vote was counted and announced. We even helped with putting a lot of the convention things away, because that's just what our Mormon brains do with that kind of situation. We just start picking up things, and if that's what everybody else is doing, you just do it along with them. And after all that, though, after a quick bite to eat, we made a beeline for Boise after that. And one thing I'll say about that is that I am never driving overnight to anywhere like that again. I will just simply make a better plan next time. So anyway, but that was the convention trip. I think I have 1 or 2 more videos to record tonight, but that was it. So I'll stop here and say blessings.